What's new, crew? If you're new, my name's Cassandra, and today we are sitting down to talk all things baby girl names. I'm only going to be talking about girls' names in this video because I'm currently pregnant with a baby girl. That being said, I am 36 weeks pregnant at the filming of this, and it took us all the way up until now to settle on baby girl's name. I will not be sharing it in this video. We never share our baby names publicly until after the baby's born. That's just the way we do things. This is baby number 5, but if you don't know, this is baby girl number 4. So it was much harder to come up with a baby girl's name this go around than it has been any other time, because we already have 3 little girls. How do you come up with a 4th girl name that you like just as much as all of your other names? So it just took us a long time to kind of settle on one, but baby girl's name is finally set in stone. I don't think we're going to change it. However, the universe, sometimes you just change it at the last minute. We've done that 2 times with our girls in the past, where they've had their name, it's been set in stone, and then like a couple days before the birth, we end up switching baby's name entirely, and we've always been really happy that we've switched it. But as of right now, baby girl's name is set in stone, and I feel pretty good sharing the names off of this list. How me and Joe came up with the list here is we would just add names to the list that we kind of liked, we would hear, and we liked it enough to add it to the list. And then sometimes along the way, going back and rechecking the list, when it came time to, hey, we should really pick a name for this baby, let's sit down and look at that list, we would reread the names and go, you know what, I don't like that name as much as I thought I did, and we take it off the list, add new ones. But it kind of seemed like all the way up until just a couple weeks ago, we were adding more names to the list. It just got longer and longer and longer, but we couldn't really narrow it down to get one that we really liked. We had one name that we liked, was our top runner pretty much all the way through this pregnancy, and it was actually a contender that we had with our last baby girl as well. But for whatever reason, it just didn't seem to fit. It just didn't seem like it was the right baby to use it with, and we just didn't end up using it. And now, as of right now, it is this baby's name. But these are other baby names that we highly considered, and some of them were top contenders. We have baby girl's name that we ended up picking, and 2 other names that were basically like our top names this entire pregnancy, that we were trying to find names that we liked better than those names, or just trying to narrow it down between those top 3 in the last couple of weeks, trying to kind of hone in on what one of those top 3 names were going to end up being baby's name. So let's go ahead and just hop into it. Baby name fit list is very long, and a lot of these are baby names that we also were kind of hunting for a middle name. So it was just a lot of names that we liked enough to add to the list, like I said, and they lived here. And some of them weren't really intended to be first names, they were more middle name options, but we liked them enough where we left them on the list. The first name I want to share is Colette. I absolutely love Colette. I have kind of offered that name up the last 2 pregnancies for our baby girls, but we already have a Colt, and Colt and Colette are very similar sounding, and my husband just said that it was just too much, and I agree. He also really likes Colette as well, but it's just way too close to Colt, and I don't want to be living that life for the rest of my life, yelling for one child out in the yard and having 2 kids turn around and go, what? So that's kind of why that one was vetoed, but I absolutely love it. Another baby name that I absolutely loved but my husband vetoed almost right away was Ira. Me nor my husband have like a baby name style. We don't really like fall into one category. The only thing that's really important to us is that it's not super common. My name's Cassandra and my husband's name is Joe. We grew up with a million people also named Joe, or some variation of Joe or Cassandra or Cassie or Sandra, all of the nicknames, and we just wanted our kids to have a little bit more unique names, but hopefully names that aren't leaning towards what some people would consider like weird or quirky. Just a nice unique name. So that's kind of what we're looking for, and I think Ira was a little too much for him, but I still absolutely loved it. I pushed for it for maybe a middle name option, but it didn't end up making first or middle name for this baby. Another one that falls into that category that I think was just a little too much for him was Alara. I really liked Alara. I thought you could call her Elle or Ella or something like that as a nickname to give him a little bit more of like a more common option, but she would still have that really unique long name that she could go by. But my husband shot it down, not right away, but pretty quickly. Another name that was super high on our contender list, it was in our top 3, and for a very long time through this pregnancy was my personal favorite baby name that we had, and that's Vela. I absolutely love Vela. I still really like it, and my husband likes it as well. I think it is still my top contender baby name. I love the way it sounds. I love the way it's spelt. I love the way it like flows off the tongue. It's very feminine sounding, but still unique. I've never heard it before. I've never seen it before, and that was what drew me to it in like originally, just because it's so unique, but it's still very feminine sounding. She could go by V or Vey or even just La if she really wanted to a little bit. There are some options there. Nicknames are never something that's super like important to me when it comes to naming my kids. Even my older kids who have names that don't really have any like super obvious nicknames, they end up just getting nicknames that are like personality traits or things like that. Our older kids are London, Lakin, Colt, and Cleo. And a lot of them have nicknames that they go by just for like family that have nothing to do with their name. There's that. This name was actually Cleo's name up until the last couple of days of pregnancy when we switched it, and that is Quinn. We still really like that name. I don't really have a rhyme or reason to it. We just liked the way it sounded. We thought it sounded nice with our other kids' names as well, and it flowed really well. The reason we ended up not choosing to go with Quinn was because we had a middle name kind of picked and set in stone for her. All of our daughters have middle names that are from my husband's side of the family, because as they get older and they marry off, assuming they take their husband's last name, they're going to be losing, you know, that part of I don't want to say their history, because obviously genetics are still there, but they're losing that namesake. And from the very beginning, it was important that they got a middle name that was still kind of tied to that side of the family, my husband's family, and they could kind of carry that with them even into like married life and adulthood and things like that. So we had Cleo's middle name picked, and we just didn't like it with Quinn. Even though we really liked Quinn, it just didn't go with it. And that's kind of the same thing with this baby. We have her middle name kind of set in stone. It was ready to go, and we just still didn't really like it with Quinn, so that's why it didn't end up getting used. However, because Quinn means 5 and this is our 5th baby, we really wanted to use it. We considered it for a middle name at this point, even though it's not tied to my husband's family at all, but we did consider it, and it just didn't end up hitting the mark for us this time. The other name we considered very highly was Scotty. I really like the name Scotty. I think it's super cute. I think pairing it with a more feminine middle name, which is what we're doing for this baby, would have been really nice. A more masculine first name, a feminine middle name, and if we wanted to, it could have just been a double name and it still sounded really well. We really liked it, but I think at the end of the day, it was a little too masculine sounding for my husband. He didn't really like it, and that's why it kind of ended up getting vetoed, but it was really high on the list for a really long time, and I still really like it. I think it's really cute, but we also see that Scotty is starting to become really popular, and we worry that if we name the baby Scotty, you know, in 2 or 3 years from now, it's going to go from being a little bit more unique to something more common, and that's not what we want. We want our kids to have names that you know, we just don't want our kids to go to school with like 10 Scotties or something like that. Not that I think it would ever get that popular, but that's still something we think about. The last baby name I think I'm going to share, because my list is like a mile long. It really was. But the last one that we really considered very heavily was something like Juniper or Junie or June or something like that as a first name. We really liked them. That was also like right up there in those top 3 names that we really considered going with. Some version of that, right? That's why we weren't sure if we wanted to go with a full name of Juniper and use Junie as like a nickname, or June, if how we wanted to do that. If we wanted to just name her Juniper, and then as, you know, a kid, a nickname of Junie would be really cute, but as she got older and matured a little bit, if she didn't like Junie, she could go by June, or, you know, a full name of Juniper. Not really sure how that would have worked logistics wise, but we still really liked it. That was another hard one where it was up there, it was top ranks, and I never thought that having this baby, we would have come to the issue where we had a couple of really good names that we really liked, and we were trying to sort out in between those names, because for almost all of this pregnancy, it was like we were trying to find a name that we liked enough to add to the list. And that's why the list got so long, because it would be like, okay, I don't hate that name, let's add it to the list and come back in a couple of days and see if I like it more, or if I decide that I don't like it enough and we can get rid of it. That's why the list got so long, because it was basically like we were adding names that we didn't just dislike. And I was worried that this baby was gonna come and I was gonna give it a name that I didn't even really like that much. So I'm so happy that kind of in the last couple of weeks here, we found a couple of names that we really liked enough to kind of like fight in between, and we had options, which was really nice. It was like a huge breath of fresh air, but I am so excited about the name we picked for this baby. I absolutely love it, and it makes me feel good, because I was very nervous that we were not going to have a name for this baby. We were, you know, my husband and I were joking that like at this point, if we can't come up with a baby name, or we can't settle on one, we're just gonna have to put all of the names in like a hat and have the nurse pick a name out of the hat at this point, like to give the baby a name, because what are we gonna do? So it feels so good to have it set in stone, and absolutely love it. I think it fits this baby really well, just from it feels right. And I know that sounds really crazy whenever I've heard other people say that, because I've never really experienced that, having it be like it just felt so right. Like I read the name and I just felt like that it was meant for this baby. I've never had that experience. My husband's extra happy because it's a name that he found and he picked, so he feels like he gets all the credit for it, which makes me super happy as well. So just a little bit of a different video for you guys today. I hope wherever you guys are, you're having a fantastic day, and I'll catch you guys in another one. Bye.